So after a pretty solid sleep, I got up, did a bit of rolling, a bit more stretching, started getting my stuff prepared, had some coffee, a little bit to eat, and then I went downstairs from the pizza shop to see where the other races gone. Two of the other races had left because they were really keen to get away, and Ryan was still downstairs. He'd just informed me that the guy that owned the pizza shop was cooking breakfast, so I went across. He actually allowed us into his house and cooked me a nice big breakfast in his house, which I thought was really generous. Refused to take anything for it. It was just, he was really happy to help out the races along the trail because he sort of thought we'd put in a huge effort to get there, so he was happy to try and help us with whatever he could to get to the end. So I kind of got talking to him, and we were just talking about one of the fossils he had in the pizza shop, which was a giant mammoth tusk. And he said he was just pulling these fossils off the beach out of the sort of rock faces. There's just all these fossils from sort of the ice age that were just pushed up to the surface because of the way the tundra had formed over the last thousands of years. So I found it pretty unique. So he showed me a giant mammoth tooth, showed me a few more fossils, and actually gave me a piece of tooth to bring home because I told him my kids were really interested. So just the actual generosity, just the way the villagers allowed us into their homes, just everything they do for us really blew me away. They're just such a really, really nice, well, they were just really nice in these villages. So, and it was good to sort of get out there and interact with them. From there, I went up, prepped myself because there was still a fair bit of wind. So I kind of knew that it was pretty cold, there was high wind, so the risk of sort of getting frostbite on your face and hands was pretty high. So I was getting ready for probably a solid day in the wind. From here, there was a shelter cabin in what was called the foothills, which was about 23 miles away. And then the next village of Shaktoolik was about 18 miles away. So I was probably around another 41 mile day to push it out. And I was kind of getting around 8, 9 o'clock by the time I got ready to go. So I was just going to see how I went, see how my knee went, but I didn't want to push it because if I thought if I push out or try and push out another 40 miles today, then I could end up with knee issues. So I got going. It was pretty easy going out of the town. So I was across a bit of ice, which the ice itself can be a bit tough because it's a bit slippery. From there, it was sort of along the coast for a bit, nice, easy going. A bit of wind, but not too bad. And then we sort of started getting off into a little bit of elevation and sort of it just was a bit undulating. So there was a few hills, not too much. So it was kind of up over a hill and then down into a valley, up over a hill. But there was kind of 5 miles between the hill and the valley. So it just broke up the day, just looking at the hill, getting to that, going down into the valley. So when I got up there, still a little bit windy, but not too bad. Sort of got a few sled rides or polk rides down some of the downhills, which made it a little bit easier. Sort of made it pretty quick to cover a mile or two here and there. My knee was holding up really well, and I was quite confident that this would be a good day. So sort of going quite well. And around about sort of, I think around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I started to get towards the foothills cabin. So I'd sort of see how I'd go when I'd get there, and then I'd make a decision from there. So I got to the foothills cabin. It was a little bit of a climb, but not too much. Got in there. There was actually 2 bikers that we sort of had met along the trail heading in here who had got to the cabin and they were going to stop there the night. So they were just using the trail for a little bit of fun, just out sightseeing sort of thing, like their own bike packing adventure. So stopped in there, they got a fire going, or they had a fire going when we got there, boiled up some water, melted some snow, got everything done again, got it sorted. And then I was kind of thinking about whether I should push on to get to the village of Shaktoolik and bed down there for the night, because I thought if I go down there, and there was a high wind between where I was and where Shaktoolik was because it was out on a bit of a peninsula. So I thought if I'm crossing there after dark in high wind, it could get a little bit dodgy or it could be a bit average. So I was sort of looking at that, trying to work out what I wanted to do, and then talking to Ryan because he turned up as well. And then a couple of skiers turned up at the same time. They said there was really high winds further north along the trail, and they said it was quite brutal. So I decided that I'd go to bed early here, get a decent night's sleep here, then I'd get up early, hit Shaktoolik, and then I'd decide what I wanted to do from there. So I was kind of breaking up what was probably the same sort of duration I've been doing for a couple of days into shorter duration. So I knew this was probably going to add about a day to my trip overall, because I was breaking 2 days into, or so I was breaking 1 day into essentially a day and a half. But I was kind of happy with it. I was here for the experience, not for the race. So I decided to get a good night's sleep. It was nice and warm. Got down, got everything sorted, and then into my sleeping bag for a nice good night. So I only really covered around about 18 miles or sort of 20 or 30 kilometres for that day. So that had kind of taken me to about 730 miles or around about 1180 kilometres, 1170 kilometres. So I knew the next day was going to be quite easy. My knee felt good. I felt good. And it was just that point where I thought it was just nice to get a little bit of a rest. So overall, not a huge day, quite easy going, just kind of got through a little bit of wind, but I was set up, ready to go again the next day. So my knee had gone down, no real issues, and I thought I was in pretty good position to move forward and increase my chances of getting to Nome.